to my computer.
There we go.
All right. All right. Well,
Hi, guys.
go on, Tim.
Nope, you go.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for everyone for jumping on. Those who aren't, we'll record this, upload to YouTube, and hopefully you can watch this. We'll try and keep it within half an hour, 45 minutes. We do want some kind of interaction just to kind of help us get through this. But really the purpose of this is to, share kind of our coaching expectations as the season goes on. I'm Michael Cockcroft, Executive Director. Tim Dean's our Technical Director. The resources we have with Rush across the world is fantastic. So to be able to share this with you guys is only to make you better, make our organization better, and stand out from everyone else in this cutthroat youth soccer world that we're in. So Tim will dive into some of the education piece. I'll share some of the opportunities we've got within Rush too. And then any questions throughout, either put in the chat or feel free just to interrupt and ask. Timbo?
Yep. All right. Thanks so much for hopping on, guys. So appreciate it. So just going to quickly kind of go over a little review of that email that I sent the other day. So let's see if I can share my screen here really quick. Okay. So give me one sec.
Tim, can you be specific on what email you shared? I don't know if I got it or not.
I forwarded them to you. So look at my screen here.
Those forwarded ones. Okay.
So this email went out to all of the age group coaches for 77, 99, and 11v11. And then I forwarded it to Tommy and Fraser as well, so that they have this information. But I just want to quickly kind of go over it and maybe some of the resources that we shared with you. So the first thing is your preseason camp microcycle. So obviously you guys are either starting that this week or the following week, but based on what age group you're coaching, you've got a topic for the day. So your topic, technical focus for the day, this is for the 4v4 model, but here's 7v7. Core values. So we have 11 core values at Rush. So we want to try to start to implement and teach these. Some of these words might be a little bit foreign for 8-year-olds, so you might have to explain them. But and then obviously then there's some coaching points and principles, and then some session topics there. Everything is linked through the coaching manual, Rush coaching manual. So that's something that we're going to want to be familiar with as we go through the season. You've got your curriculum. So this is the 7v7 curriculum. There's a lot of content here. It's definitely worth maybe taking an hour and reading through it. But I think the main things I was asking that you kind of look at is kind of what the objective is for your age group. Here's the 4 pillars that I mentioned that we're trying to kind of develop players for. Your objective, focus on technical development while sustaining an enjoyable environment. So super simple, but really good for that age group. And then you've got a variety of things, but then we're eventually going to get to the blue thread. Familiarize yourself with that. That's something that we're going to touch on a little bit more as we go. Some coaching curriculum tips for this age group. All right. And then finally, here are the topic charts. So the topic charts I attached to the email as well. Same thing, but these are the things we really need you kind of touching on with your age group. You can do it in a variety of ways. You can use the session plans that we provided. You can use your own sessions. We really want to make sure that we're at least hitting on these key areas so that all of our players at the U9 and U10 age groups are learning the same thing. That way, when they get to U11 and U12, they're prepared. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. So you can see kind of what I talked about there, our philosophy, and then finally coaching collaboration. So we're going to be sorry, give me a second here. We're going to be working at establishing kind kind of a partner for you that you're going to learn from, that you're going to share your experiences with. Michael and I are going to be kind of helping implement that, but you'll look for an email from that in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's a kind of that email. Try to read through that. Take maybe a half hour, and just kind of see all those resources and get used to them. Make sure that you have access to the Rush Coaching Manual. And if you do not, get in touch with me so I can connect you and get you an account. Next thing, so gonna talk a little bit about session planning. So like we said, we want you to use the coaching manual and the session plan provided, the Rush curriculum, but sometimes you're going to have to put your own spin on things, or maybe you're going to do a session 1 week from the Rush coaching manual, and you don't want to repeat the exact same thing for the same topic. Stick with your topics, use the Rush coaching manual as a resource, but put your own delivery and personality on it. Okay. The blue thread. So those are the 8 principles that are present in that we want present in every session. So let's see who can remember some of these. Chris Brawley, can you remember and name one of the blue thread principles that we kind of talked about over the last couple of years? I think you're on mute, Chris.
There you go.
There you go.
For those we talked about yesterday, the other day, tenacity.
Yeah, those are the core values.
values.
The blue thread
Okay.
principles were those training principles that we were working on. It was a while ago now, probably like 18 months ago, that we wanted present in every session. So we talked about like the session being at least 75% game based, for example.
I'm sorry, you still on me?
see. You're breaking up. I can't quite hear you.
Oh yeah, 70%, and there was the win loss. Was it 8-2-1 or something? 7.
Yeah, close. Yeah, so like 70% of the time the ball is rolling. That was one of the key principles. Let's see. Alex,
Oh,
I'll call on
6-3-1.
you. Yeah, 6-3-1 was your another
Yeah.
kind of Rush rule of thumb. Alex, do you remember any of the blue thread principles that we went over? This might have actually been even before you were on staff.
Hey, sorry, I was muted. Ball rolling 70% of the time or 70% of the time, one of those.
Yep. Yeah, so this is something we'll probably have to review a little bit more. Let me see if I
Sorry.
can find where it's at in the curriculum so I can show you guys. 1 second here. Sorry.
Coach in a positive way.
There we go. Thank you, Ann. So coaches in a positive way to develop confidence. That was one of them. Here we go.
Meet the needs of your players.
Good. So another one, ongoing cycle of feedback and reflection between the player and coach. So making sure that we engage players with question and answer. Each activity contains decision-making elements. We don't want to develop robots. Design of the session, week, season plan meets the needs of your players and your team. One of the hardest one, coaching points are based on visual cues. This hopefully develops players so that they're making their own decisions and reading the game, developing game intelligence. We talked about 75% of the session is game based and opposed. So again, not having a lot of lines, lectures, and unopposed passing and dribbling. We talked about coaches positively encourage and build confidence, and then uses conditions to encourage competition. So next goal wins, all that good stuff. Cool. Next one, Rush licensing pathway that Michael's going to talk a little bit more about.
Thanks, Tim. Can you stop the share and I'll share my end here?
Yep.
Okay, so Rush has done an amazing job of actually creating a onboarding platform, both at a coach and a club and a player level. So you guys all have access to this. I'll share this, or Tim will share this in a follow-up email. But essentially the website is learn.rushsoccer.com. Is a club. This is probably geared more towards new clubs onboarding, or maybe some of our directors. One of the great things of Rush is there's so much curriculums, programming, to the point where it's almost too much. So what they've done is over the course of the last year, they've created different catalogs to onboard you. Again, probably the Rush way in the first part, like I said, is more aimed towards new clubs coming on or directors. But again, it's still accessible for you guys as coaches if you want to learn more about incentive programs, marketing, reach, and everything else. What's probably more related to you guys is some of the education piece in global programming. So for example, we've got, want to learn more about Rush education, the select program, Rush development, some of the travel side of things. So simply what you would do is just go to learn.rushsoccer.com under the clubs, click on one of these programming. So let's say we wanted to learn more about Rush College Advisory Program. You would then just add this to your cart. Obviously, I've already registered and added that. I'd go to view cart. And then you would just put in here, if the coupon code needed to be Rush onboarding. Again, I'll send you this information out. Proceed to checkout. In this case, it's free. I'd put in all my details. I'd click on terms and conditions, place the order. You now have an account. So this will allow you to create an account with learn.rushsoccer.com. The reason that this is important is now I can go in as coaches. And this is the goal for this year. For 2023, our goal as a club is to get every one of you guys the Rush way level 1 and level 2. Now, as being a Rush coach, you get this for free. So what you would then do is you would click on, because you've created your account in learn.rushsoccer.com, you would click on the Rush level 1, add it to your cart. I think Tim sent this out before, Tim, the code, but we'll send you a review. In your cart, $75. It's RUID. Anyone want to tell me what RUID stands for? Come on, Tommy G. RUID. Go on, Ann.
Rush
Rush.
University Inclusive.
Rush until
Rush
I die.
until I die.
Yeah, Rush until I die. So RUID 2022, apply the coupon, and it just clears it out. All right. So now you go to checkout and you'd have it there. So I've already done that. I'd go to my courses. This is in my account. And then these are all the courses that I've enrolled for. So I did some of the Rush soccer development, Rush select stuff. I wanted to know more about that. I want to know more about the college advisory program. And then obviously I want to now get my Rush way coaching license. What I'm asking you guys to do is it's 5 hours of level 1, 16 hours of level 2. If we can get everybody registered by the end of the year and have these levels complete, we'll bring out Pablo, who's our sporting director from Florida. We'll bring him out in the winter, maybe February and March, and have him run the level 3 course. Nobody else in the country's done that yet. So in order for us as a club to be able to get all 50 coaches, which we've got about 47, 50 coaches, to get everybody level 1 and level 2 licensed would be great. What I'm probably going to encourage our directors to do is if we've got rain out nights, cancellations is, hey, you are scheduled to coach. You've got that hour and a half, 3 hours, if you're doing 2 sessions back to back, to jump on this and be able to complete the curriculum. It's super easy. It shows you the breakdown of where you do in each class, a little quiz at the end. And then by the time you did it, you get a diploma from a Rush course. What Rush has started to do now is track this across the country. So this gives you, oops, wrong one. So this gives you an idea of where we are on a global scale. So they have rankings 1 all the way down to these clubs who haven't done anything whatsoever. We're actually not in a bad position as a club across the world. We're currently in 4th place. We're implementing the curriculum, which is what Tim does. Unfortunately, out of the 50 coaches, we've only got 28% who have done level 1. Only 9% have done level 2. We use video analysis. Currently, we're not using the mental health portion that Rush offer. We're implementing futsal, and then we do the train at home. That calculates a club point system. If we get in the top 3, they actually give us credit. So these clubs here just recently got $1,000 credit to use for mental health and mindset coaching. I know another club also got some video analysis, which will be potentially great for a select program, some of those kids looking to play in college. But if we've got $1,000 credit for some of the mental health awareness or mindset coaching, which they provide us, you know, as coaches, you can reach out to your directors and kind of say, hey, look, I think this kid would really benefit from this. Hey, as a coach, I think that my team would benefit from this. We've now got some type of credit that we can use. So the goal for Tim and I is to push this through our DOCs to get everybody implemented on level 1 and 2 by the end of the year. After the end of the year, they actually are going to then up the fee, where it's the $75 and $125. So we've got essentially 4 months of free access to this course. Again, I'll share this, or Tim will share this. The onboarding code is Rush Onboarding, which is some of the catalogs of things you can find out about Rush. And then the free courses is RUID 2022. There's also Pablo's our sport director. He put a full report out, a technical report for 22-23 season on all the things that we use within Rush, and then kind of some cool Rush by the numbers. You know, one of the standouts is probably 85% of the clubs, Rush clubs across the world, are using the coaching manual, but only 46.5% are using through the season planners. And then one of the lower ones is only 8% of clubs are using the mental health awareness. To be honest, that was something new that I just saw at the summit a few weeks ago or a month ago, and something we can look to implement in the future. Anyone got any questions on that? Those that have maybe done, those 27% and 9% who have done level 1 and 2, any feedback, comments that you could kind of give our coaches as a heads up of those that have done it?
Question on these courses, Michael. It's basically all online. There's no like, I don't need to connect with Tim to do it. It's just, and there's no like connecting with Pablo for like quiz or test. It's all online based. So it's all on my discretion when I do it.
Exactly. And you can check back in, log back in and do it. It's like, you know, you do the safe sport and you've got to sit there for that 30 minutes or that 2 hours and just click through, or you get a speeding ticket, you go to the driving defensive course. In this case, it's not. Just log in at your own availability, which is kind of why I thought it'd be good when those nights, you know, where sessions are canceled due to the weather, you know, coaches can be encouraged to say, hey, look, you want scheduled to be here for 3 hours, go and jump on for an hour and do it. I think it's really attainable between now and the end of the year to get this done. And then the level 3 is actually in person. You know, so Pablo will come out, you know, we'll try and maybe book Schaumburg indoor. We can get Willow Hill if we've got space up there, and do like a weekend's course to be able to get all 50 of our coaches to have levels 1, 2, and 3. That'll shoot us in the top 3. That'll start giving us some credit, give us some credibility. It's something we can then market and brand as a club that, hey, we've got all 50 coaches licensed through the Rush diploma. Again, just starts being that differentiator from every other club in the country that where Rush diploma trained adds to kind of, you know, that coaching education pathway that Tim's tried to implement. Cool.
Yeah,
One
just
thing, Michael, go ahead.
No, I was just adding to what you guys were saying. It's like, I know everybody's super busy, but to hop on for 30 minutes or 10 minutes, you get the distraction. It's pretty simple. It also gets addicting as you're watching it. You know, you just want to do another one and you're fit, you know, so sometimes you hammer out a ton, but in general, it was pretty good. A lot of good videos and stuff. Yeah.
We're good. We're good. Tommy?
Well, Michael, the quick thing, and not to steal thunder from the Rush licensing, but I have a ton of staff that I need to basically force to push through getting their D licenses.
Mhm.
So I like them continue on the coaches pathway there. We might have anywhere up to 6 to 8 coaches this year. Half of them are grassroots, half of them have been sitting on a E-license for a decade that I'm forcing to do D licenses. So we might have 6 to 8 coaches doing the D licenses here. So it might be something if there's other rush coaches that need the D, maybe we could approach Adam and to help, because this is a lot. We might be able to dictate like the weekend we want and get coaches, run our own rush D license. So just something to throw out there.
And Tim, are you still involved with the state and the education stuff? Because I think we did something up north recently for that. I think, we also
Did
had
the 11v11 last year, I
Yeah.
think.
And I think Mindy had Mindy, who was coaching our UWS team this summer, he actually got not all, but about 10 of our 10 of our women players to get their grassroots license. So we've now got access, albeit some of them are in college, so they're away, but we've now got, 10 girls or women who have now been licensed grassroots. And I think, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam is using something for this DOC diploma or something later in the year up at North Park. I know we're hosting something again. So I'll confirm what that is.
Is anyone else doing the DOC?
Yeah, I am. And I think Ben is, and I think Tim was going to sign up too.
Yeah, I'm signed up as well.
I saw that. Nick, Brenton Joseph's directly involved in the licensing.
Yes.
Can you add any more on that? I don't know what that means.
No, like he runs D courses. He's working on being able to run C courses, and he's involved with all the licenses.
Okay. And for those that don't know, Brenton's one of our coaches down in Oswego, but he's also the TD over at Virginia Rush, but his family was here in Oswego. So it's great that we've got him on board. All right, cool. All right, so just shifting gears a little bit. This is probably the biggest or most important element to what we do, right? While it's developing players, it's the education piece that we've got to remind our parents on. We're not even into the season. If we want to class Super Y as the end of 22-23 or the start of 23-24, either way, it created some refreshers of what we need to do going into the season. And on our website, under the parent tab on the host page, I put together a little YouTube video of just literally going through every code of conduct. So when every parent's registered for our club and registered their child, we had them click that they'd read the code of conduct. I would probably say 80% probably hadn't. So that's why I kind of went through it as a YouTube video and read out each one individually, from respect, going over our core values. But within the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks of Super Y, it was a lot of the similar patterns. And I think we've just got to send out refreshers on a regular basis of what our expectations are. The two things that came out, there was almost a fight in the parking lot between a coach of another team and a parent of a new parent within our club. And then there was a brand new parent in the club texting one of our younger coaches during the game, essentially telling him what he should be doing tactically throughout the game, questioning his son's play time. So, the biggest thing, as we know, is setting those expectations from the start. And I think we have to do that in team meetings. I think obviously most teams are training this week or next for our opening week of the season. And I think that's really important to maybe go through those code of conducts in your team meeting. So if you haven't had that team meeting set up, it's a reminder that we should do that, but it's a reminder that these are our code of conducts. These are expectations. And instantly I had to jump in as the executive director. Part of those code of conducts is decision-making to, have the 3 strikes, a verbal warning, written warning, and then that's it, you're out. But at any point where that puts our coaches and our players in an uncomfortable situation, we can escalate that straight to one and get rid of these parents. We create a culture in a club, or we're trying to create a culture in a club that it's zero tolerance. Tom had some unfortunate situations last season too, where there was racism at a U8, U9 age group, and things that he's had to jump on straight away, and something that him and I have talked about, providing these onboarding platforms for coaches and parents that not just our code of conduct, but, the ability for, it's something you would even think about of certain words and things you're saying, from racism to, gender equality to, discrimination in other areas. So it's something that we've just got to be aware of and remind parents on a weekly basis from top down. I don't know if anyone's had any others and how you've resolved it. I'd be open for discussion, that, things that you don't have to mention names or teams, but areas that you've had issues and things that have worked well to prevent these things happening. So feel free to share if anyone has any. If not, maybe I'll just pick on Tom, because I see Tom's face on here, just kind of how we resolved the racism issue that he had.
Yeah, so that my fault was, I know we spoke when that was going on, to implement some type of diversity, equity, inclusion policy, or some onboarding for coaches to deal with that specifically. Were we able to get anything sorted? I know you were working with a consultant or something.
Yeah, I got a platform. It's a similar type of thing. Unfortunately, everyone on this call, that's not the issue. It's the parents. There's an hour onboarding course, and it's the same principle as the licensing. You go on when and where you need to in order to do it, to complete it, to say that you're now certified in diversity and inclusion, right? Okay. I think it's more from an insurance policy perspective that we've gone through it, because that was probably one of the questions that was flagged from the parents of like, what training have you got? We've got Safe Sport, we've got coaching, we've got all of these education platforms, but what are people getting from a diversity inclusion perspective? So it's there, it's available. Unfortunately, it's generic, it's very corporate-y. It's stuff that we all know the answer to, and you're clicking through the obvious questions with scenario based. But again, from our perspective, we've been onboarded and we've done it, and it's something we can maybe tag onto our website that we've been done. To me,
so the real life execution on that, it's great to work through the scenarios, even from Safe Sport, and God forbid we get to the point where you have to implement your action plan there, right? Like we click through the buttons, but when you have to do it real world, so it's quite contentious. The issue, the racial issue that we had to go through, parents didn't want to concede that it had happened. It was a multiple offense. What we did was hear from both parties, had it escalate to the board. The board debated and discussed. Both families were able to solicit the board with their feedback and experiences of what happened. The board made a ruling. It's part of our bylaws where we can, expel children from the club or families, or suspend them. We had suspended the player for 2 weeks from all game activity and practice activity, and then was reinstated for winter clinic. So that's what we did there. And we worked through the process that way, but we'd like to, for this year, and it's been on me, there was a good month of interaction to get that resolved in what seemed like an equitable fashion for everyone involved, although the offending player, parents might not have felt that. We need to have a bit more explicit guideline that we want to put out to the club this year, and what is appropriate language, right? And how will it be addressed? So I need to get that sorted in the next couple of weeks. So if I could pull something together, Michael, there's some reference material you can send my way. I have stuff that Evan Whitfield from Chicago Fire sent me. It's pretty in depth, of like a no-go word list of words that are a zero tolerance policy. And if they're used, if we put that out early, I guess that'll help us not need to go through the whole board deliberation, whatnot. If you're going to use those racial slurs, it's pretty black and white. You're suspended for a week or two, or whatever we decide.
All right, cool. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, we'll get something over to you. Like I said, I had a couple of onboarding. It was a consultant company that create like specific onboarding activities for corporate organizations. It was a lot of duplicate of the safe sport. So it's just whether that's specific to diversity inclusion or we want to, you know, go off the safe sport one. So we can kind of keep that working in the background.
Okay.
I think just to kind of wrap this education piece up, you know, as I mentioned, being able to have your team meetings this week, establishing, you know, expectations within your team, the 24-hour rule is critical. You know, and again, as a coach, you have to adhere to that. I think sometimes that can be de-escalated. I think Tim will talk a little bit in a moment about game management and about, you know, in some cases, it's the parents' only time they see you as a coach. They're not on the field watching you train. So the only interaction that they have with you guys as coaches is at the game. And if they then see you in a different light to who you are as a person, whether that's from a training or a personality perspective, they're now going to perceive who you are based on that hour game of screaming and shouting at a kid. And again, I don't think anyone is in this situation, but screaming and shouting, complaining at the referee, throwing your hands up, hands on your hip. You know, previous coaches no longer with us would sit on the bench with their hood up, freezing cold, not interacting. And that was it. That was their only chance to PR themselves. And a previous DOC of mine used to use that all the time. Like, you've got to PR yourself on the sideline, who you want parents to think you are. And if you're that bundled up, freezing cold, sitting down, not saying anything, or the opposite, up, animated, shouting at the ref, throwing your hands up, then that's who you're going to be perceived as. So I think it's really important you manage that during the season. You know, kids maybe not getting minutes on the field, right? And you can still look like you're interacting with them on the sideline, standing next to them, you know, arm on the shoulder, or maybe not safe sport, you know, but you're interacting, you're down at their level, you're saying, hey, look at this movement, look at that movement, you've got your clipboard out, you're still watching the game. That to me is a great opportunity to PR yourself, where you're interacting with the player and the game, and the parents now watching going, oh, wow, like he's really engaged with me. And I don't think he's on the call. Scott Marks, I always think, is the best at that with the younger kids. He's down on his knee after every time he coaches. You know, you'll see dirt on his knees, and it's, you know, it's great that, you know, you have coaches that do that. So as we go into this tournament, you know, where we've got 47 teams from Rush hosting at our own tournament in a couple of weeks. I want something specific. I've asked the DOCs to push down to you guys. I want to embed this culture. And what I want to see is, before each game, when your captain goes up to the referee and flips the coin to pick their half, you know, whether they win or lose that toss, and it's, hey, I'm defending this side, or I want to kick off, is after that happens, the captain then goes and shakes the hand of the other team's coach. Fist pump, shake hand, whatever it is, right? I want that to be uniformed across all of our Rush teams in the Chicagoland area. I want during that weekend to ask coaches on the other side, hey, do you need a water? How's things going? Can I help with anything? I want that social interaction between non-Rush clubs and us, and even our own Rush teams, right? You know, in some cases as well, like, can you do group pictures post game if we've got time? If it's North against North Shore and they've been guest playing with each other, can we get a team pic? You know, we're going to have some guys out there from social media who'll try and do some post game interaction, you know, just to try and generate that. And then coaches as well. For a coach, you know, Abel, who's doing some goalkeeping, you know, tucking into his lunch here, to be able to go and say to Tommy's goalkeeper, hey, you need help warming up for 5-10 minutes, to walk across to, you know, the parents and the coach after the game and interact and say, hey, your kid really did well, maybe do this next time. Like that, it looks like one big family, that we can start our season off where we're ingraining this culture and really being Rush heavy tournaments. You know, 47 of the 100 teams that we've got is going to be Rush. And then we've got Wisconsin Rush coming down, Southeast Rush coming down. I think maybe we've got teams from Iowa, teams from Wisconsin. They're going to be all over the place. Here's our opportunity to start embedding our culture throughout the season and start how we mean to go on. So if Tim and myself is out at another tournament or another game throughout the season, I'm still seeing little Johnny, shake the referee's hand, shake the coach's hand, and it's consistent throughout a club, not being known as certain clubs around the area where we're like, I hate playing this club. Their parents are obnoxious. They're screaming on the sideline. They've got their red solo cup. You know what's in them, and you know those type of clubs. So just to kickstart our season pretty well. All right, Tim, game day coaching.
Okay. Yep. So awesome. Thanks for that. So one of the things that you're actually going to cover in that Rushway licensing course, whether it's in probably touch on both of them, but is we have a Rushway of coaching on game day. So let's see who might know what we do for pre-game or what we recommend. Scott, if you're able to talk, and if you don't know what the Rushway is or what we kind of advocate for as far as pregame, talk to me about a good pregame kind of warm up and some keys that you try to do before the match starts.
Sure. I don't know if this is the official Rushway, so I'll be straight up and honest. I don't know if I've seen an official Rushway for pregame, but I like to do some dynamic stretching. Like to have a little bit of unopposed and opposed activity on the ball. So maybe like some rondo work, maybe some 3v2s to goal. Some actual, some actual on the ball activities as well, right? As opposed to just pure stretching. And of course, there's going to be some talking, some coaching going on pre-games as well, right? But a mix of all those things is what I like to do pre-game.
Awesome. So a couple of really good things. First off, dynamic stretching and like the actual warm up should be player led. So maybe for the first couple weeks, we are helping the players and giving them all the things, but then maybe nominating a captain, nominating a leader that's going to lead this. We want a lot of these things to be player led. Good, going from unopposed to opposed, so maybe a little passing warm up, a little dribbling warm up, depending on what age group you are, and then going into an opposed. Typically, we recommend that we do kind of an attack versus defense, or defense versus attack build out situation. And typically we want this to be an extension of what you worked on in training. So if you worked on final third play in attacking this week, then it's a continuation of that, so that you're continuing to implement the things that you're teaching your players. Good. Last things is we always ask are give reminders of the key things we worked on in training, but then also give the players a couple minutes before the games to do whatever they need to do in order to get mentally and physically prepared to go win the match and to go compete. So some players, that's going to look differently than others. Sometimes the players are going to be quiet off themselves. Some players, you can see them saying, like I've seen players like doing a little prayer or whatever it might be. Take their time there. Good. In game, Steve, I know Steve's just joining us in the Rush family. He's going to be coaching our 2013 girls select group. But would you mind, if you're able to, Steve, talk about some best practices for in-game coaching?
Yeah, of course. So what I do in game really is obviously we don't want a joystick. So some of the stuff that I kind of do is just give bits of information. Obviously, everything that I don't need to be able to joystick and tell them everything they need to do, because everything should have been learned in the training session. So to be able to give them bits of information to help adjust the way they're playing as a team and as individual players is really what I focus on in game.
Love it. Yeah. So no joystick coaching. Don't overcoach. Small bits of digestible information that players have an immediate can immediately take. Big one. Use their name. So Jimmy. Small bit of information with a solution. So that's really key. We don't want to say something general like you need to have a better touch. Most of the time, the players are going to know they need to have a better first touch if they just turn the ball over. But maybe if we actually give them a solution on how to have a better first touch, hey, take it with the inside of your right foot across your body. That's going to help. Good. Also, Michael talked a lot about it in game. A lot of what you're doing, your in-game coaching is done on the sideline with substitutes. So giving players specific objectives when they go on the field, not just saying, hey, you're going to go play right wing, have at it. Okay. What do you want from your right winger? Do you want that player staying wide, or do you want that player to come inside and help and build up? In the final third, what do you want that right winger to do? Get to the end line when they get the ball 1-versus-1, or do you want them to combine with their attacking midfielder? So just little bits of information, and then if you can somehow make it measurable, hey, I want you to get in 2 crosses while you're in. If there's a player that you know whips in a good ball, right? First 10 minutes, get a 1v1, create that yard of space, good cross into a dangerous area, and then reflect on that with the player when they come back out. So yeah, a couple of good things to take there. Steve, thank you very much. Halftime team talk.
And sorry,
Go,
Tim,
Michael.
just to add on that, on the in-game, you've got those generic responses from a lot of kids, right? They've heard coaches say it so often. So, you know, that we got to talk more. The communication's got to be better. We got to keep possession, right? We got to try and shoot. We got to great. But what I find, especially the younger ones, is it's really helpful to give them terminology to use, especially in the communication piece, right? Of well, what do you actually want to say? What are the cue words to say in, you know, hey, I'm open, right? As simple as that. Or hey, man on. I just feel a lot of that's lost now, and kids just give these generic answers because they've heard it so many times. Whereas you can kind of help the younger ones, especially by giving them specific words they want to say. And I heard it this past weekend. I was at some games with my own kid, and the coach is screaming you've got to talk more. You've got to talk more to the goalkeeper. Well, the poor goalkeeper is well, what do you want us to say? I'm 9 years old. Hey, mark the front post, back post. Sure. Hey, push out. But he wasn't given the instruction. He was just told, you need to talk more, or you need to communicate better, but without any other coaching instructions on that. So I think it's really important that you give people, younger kids especially, actual words and phrases that you want them to use going forward.
Love it. Linda, halftime. Could you give me maybe a couple objectives that you would have for a good halftime team talk? Struggling to hear you. I'm not sure if you're muted or.
Oh, you got away with it, Linda. It's not working.
All right. Let's see. Nick.
I think she was just miming.
Nick, can you give me a few halftime principles that you look to talk about with your team?
I just direct them to kind of observe and reflect on the first half. I try to stay away from what we did. Hey, something we did well, something we did poorly. It's just more observational. So, what are the other team's strengths? What are they trying to do? And then, okay, where have we been successful? And what are some different ways to do that? And just keep it super simple, 1 or 2. So obviously be aware of the enemy's attack, or where they're strongest and weakest, and ours as well.
Awesome. That touched on it pretty well. I think the key thing there is simple, right? One or two things in attack, one or two things in defense that we can then talk on, so that we're not giving them too much information and they're overloaded as they head into the second half. Great. Last thing post game. Let's see who have not called on there. And what is your post game message like typically after a game?
So obviously, like, you know, I do actually reflect quickly, like, okay, what did we do well? What could we do better? And then kind of bring those things, and individually, everyone, you know, think about, you know, maybe one thing you could have individually done better. And then, you know, something that you did well also, just to make sure they're, you know, continuing to build confidence. And then usually, you know, like recapping and then send them on their way, and just kind of like, hey, just remember this for this week for training, you know, just kind of, so they're already thinking about, okay, yeah, now, you know, training's Tuesday, we have a midweek game, you know, just kind of give them that information as well.
Yep. I think that's all good stuff, Ann. I love that you touched on the reminder for the week. Big thing, keep it brief. Players are exhausted by that, mentally and physically. So you don't need I think there's nothing worse than you've lost the match. It's a heartbreaker, right? Last kick of the game, we lost 4-3. And then the coach bangs on for another 15 minutes, keeping the players and telling them everything they did wrong. Absolutely brutal as a player. Last thing you want to hear. So keep it brief, be positive, give them something to send them on their way and a smile on their face, and we'll be in good shape. Thanks, guys. Michael, is the next slide mine or yours?
We can split it.
Sweet. Yeah, so it's just a little bit of organization and team management. So these are some things that are going to help you have success as coaches, and then also some things that we ask of you that you might not know about, maybe our guest player possibly. So first off, TeamSnap is obviously our organization scheduling app. The big thing here is, depending on the age of your players, but continuously reminding either the parents or the players that they need to update their availability, especially for matches. That way we know how many players we have coming, if we need to get guest players for certain positions or whatnot. But this is something that we have to constantly do. You can use the app for this to send reminders, but use that TeamSnap app as much as possible so that you can be as prepared as possible. Rush coaching manual and the Sheets app. So this is probably the best way to access the curriculum when you're on the go. So one thing we recommend is downloading the Sheets, which is like the spreadsheet app on an iPhone. I don't know if it's called the same thing for an Android. I think it is. But then if you download that, you can click on that email I sent you where it has the master Rush curriculum. And from there, you can then access all the different session plans on the rushcoachingmanual.com website. So just a really good kind of resource to have quickly when you're on the go, and maybe sometimes you haven't actually physically written out a session plan. Scheduling and blackout dates. So for those teams that are playing select, we provided you with some blackout dates to avoid. So just make sure that you are adhering to them and not scheduling games or practices on the blackout dates that we have provided. Michael, do you want to talk a little bit more about any scheduling related issues?
I mean, Anne could jump in because she probably handles this the best, but I think the biggest thing is sticking within the timeline that the leagues are allowing us to do so. And I don't know if they've changed it, but after a certain date we get fines, and a lot of those is because of just, you know, us not being organized or on top of it, and then realizing, oh, I should have changed that game. I think part of the issues in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anne, but part of the issues in the past is the default the home games, typically with IWSL, I think in the past is, especially in Oswego, we can't play home games on a Saturday till after 3, but they always defaulted to during the day between 9 and 3. So then you schedule and rescheduling these games of no fault of your own. So it's just making sure that you're on top of it, that you've got the schedule set, that you're using the time frame in order to get them done. If not, then lean on those resources, lean on your DOC, lean on Anne, Linda, whoever your admin is at your club. And anything to add on that?
No, just like what you said, just the timing is crucial. Right now, you're probably getting, as a coach, 3 to 4 emails a day for changes or just people confirming. And we just want to get in. Right now, we're still in the free, unlimited, you can change as much as you want. So we want to take advantage of that. And then, things come up like during the season, but you should know, hey, I've got this tournament this weekend, or there's select that weekend. I've got a lot of players. I've got to reschedule for that. So just really, it's just looking ahead at it, creating a calendar and, just kind of sticking with it. But if you haven't gotten any emails, please email me, because that means there's something going on in the league. Either your background check didn't come back clear yet, or, there's some reason, because you should be getting a lot of emails right now on that.
So, Ann, just to jump in on that one, because I'm dealing with it right now. IWSL with Bob, like I think almost all my coaches, if not all of them, have done all their Safe Sport background. They're cleared on their Sports Engine player, whatever the IYSA risk thing. And Bob still blocks them. He's blocked a couple of them, and I've replied like they've passed and I've got the background check clear and all that. He's like, yes, I need a screenshot of all that information showing that they're eligible.
Yeah, get with me after.
I'm like, where was that instruction? It's just unfortunate he's unable to figure that out like YSSL does. So I've had a couple coaches blocked that are fully passed that I'm now collecting screenshots of everyone's Sports Engine to forward to Bob, so he'll unlock coaches.
Yep. It's it's not good. Yeah, they all do it differently, even though it's all IYSA. Each of the leagues does it completely differently. All of them do it their own way. So yeah, it's just getting everyone cleared and not suspended so that we can have them get the communications.
I think the next one super important is the guest players. I think that's arguably one of the biggest benefits of Rush and having us all under the one platform. But it's got to be within. Sorry, Tim, you go say something. Nope. It's got to be within the rules. Like, we all want to support each other. We all want to have the best players, but not at the expense of the club that you're borrowing it from. So the process should be, if you need a guest player as a coach, the first thing is, can you do that within your own age group? What we want to do is try and promote from within. If there's a third or a second or a first team, can they guest from that age group below? Because they're obviously then going to be rostered at a lower level, so they can then play up at the higher level. Same within your same club. Same with a younger age player who maybe want to guest at the age group above. That only then helps the development within your organization. If you're now starting to use the same consistent 3 or 4 players from another club because they're the best 3 or 4 players, then that DOC or that club's going to have issues, because that lower level team who's got better players aren't getting the guest playing opportunities. To add to that, then I've seen where the team manager is then just reaching straight out to the parent of that guest player on a regular basis. Like, that cannot happen. The team manager is not the one that should be doing it. And I get it. In some cases, the coach asks the team manager to do it. If that's the case, then make sure everybody's looped in. It's very simple. If you're guesting from another Rush club, to include your DOC, to have that conversation with the other coach. And if it's then the logistics for the team managers to work it out, that's fine. But it shouldn't be the team manager saying, oh, hey, can this player come and guest with us this week? And the coach of that team where the guest player is playing from has no clue, which in turn the DOC has no clue. And it just then gets out of control and spirals. And again, I get you trying to have some better players to have success, but what is that long-term outcome? that if you're always using the best 3 or 4 players and you're winning the league, well, those other 6 or 7 players on your team aren't necessarily at that level. It's just because you're bringing in the best 3 or 4 players. So try and do it within an age group, within your own club, looping in the coach, looping in the DOC. And then if the team manager needs to do the admin and the logistics of it, that's fine. Anything to add on that, anyone? Any issues that people have had that they'd like to bring it up so that we can address it? Don't have to call out clubs or coaches or teams, but just something that you've seen where you'd like to have clarification on how that guest playing works. I think I would have stated the obvious, but you can't have a player who's playing in Division 3 go and guest play with a team that's playing in Division 5 at a different club. And then ask Anne or ask your admin locally, say, hey, can you change him and roster him on Division 5 so I can use him at Division 3 just to stack the games? Like that's not the purpose of guest playing. The guest playing is you need players, you may have short rosters, you've deliberately only got 9 players on one roster and 12 on another. From Anne's perspective or the admin's perspective, it's a logistical nightmare throughout the season. A couple of times we've been burned where we've let unknown to us, we've let players guest, but they're playing at a higher level on the roster, but they're being put in. And then it looks like we're stacking teams, but it's just, we've not been aware of it. Anything to add on that? Sweet. I want to try and get done within the hour here. So we've got like 1 minute to go. All right. Perception is reality. Coaching gear. Hopefully all of you got enough coaching gear. If not, some coaches have got more than they should. We had $68,000 worth of coaching gear that got spread out amongst all of our clubs. Unfortunately, I just saw an email recently that I've got to do a forecasting for next season, which I'm trying to get changed. So last year we had too many extra large and large. This year we've got too many small and mediums because it's fluctuation in coaches' sizes that we've got. If you've got 5 gray t-shirts and they're all large or extra large, we might need to get some of those back that we've got too many when you got allocated. We're a little short on extra large and large gear. We've got an abundance of mediums and smalls. We've got a load of 3/4 zip and winter stuff. So when that weather changes, we should be fine. We're just a little short on track pants, shorts, and t-shirts right now while the weather's still good. So if you do have extra large and extra larges at your location or your coaches have got too many, let your coach or DOC know. Sorry, let your DOC know so we can maybe get some of those. Nick, they're all up at North in the lockup. So maybe we can coordinate getting some of those smaller mediums down to you. I know Rich Simpson had some extras that I give for Fabian that he'd already got Fabian. So he's got a load of extra medium stuff. So maybe you can get to Sam to get to Greg. So just those type of coordinations can be easily done. Load of smaller mediums up north in the concession stand. We need more larges and extra larges. Same as the cones and pennies. We didn't get any allocated pennies this year. We'll see post-tournament if we've got some money left over through the allotment that we get, like that we can maybe get some extra pennies and cones for those that need it. Anything else to add on that side of things? I know North, I think Oswego, correct me if I'm wrong, are going to try and coordinate games on a weekend that they wear a certain color at training. So Monday night might be blue, Tuesday might be white, Wednesday might be this color, and Thursday might be purple. Again, that limited what sizes and colors you've got. Same on the weekend. Once the winter hits, it's easy because we've all got similar 3/4 zips and winter jackets. It's just over these next 3 or 4 months. Anything to add on that? Awesome. And then any questions, any other business that I've not covered or Tim's not covered? Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate everyone's time. We'll get this uploaded to YouTube. We'll send this out so you can share with your other coaches. Hey, Tim, are we on at 8 tonight? Saw it in the coach's manual, in the coach's team snap, but not on the group.
Yeah, we are on tonight for those who could not make it. Day.
All right, we'll try and condense it in half an hour because Tommy won't be on. All right, cheers everyone. Thanks for your time. Good luck in your season. And we'll see you, most of you, in a few weeks at last thing, I'm going to send another blast out to you guys. We've got 1s and 2s free tournaments or free places that we need for a tournament just to close out brackets. Not too many. I'll put it in the group chat and then try and reach out to any potential clubs just to close them out. And Anne and I are working on the schedule. Hopefully Friday at the latest, we'll have the schedule out. Hopefully sooner than that, that we'll have a mock schedule or the first round of schedules out for our own tournament in the coming weeks. I think Anne had put something on here. Anne also said, please send a headshot photo for your coach's pass. Most you did already. You can send to rushadmin@chicagorushsoccer.com. Yeah, appreciate your time. Fabian, we'll get that link to you so you're on the group chat too. And we'll get all that stuff updated. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop recording, Tim.